Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. In today's video, I thought it would be fun to do the if I could only keep 5 eyeshadow palettes. Sarah Rose actually just posted this video today, and I thought, I wonder which ones I would keep. So I sat down myself and just pulled out the palettes that I would keep if I could only keep 5. And I figured today I would just go ahead and film the video as well. I will have her video linked down below if you want to watch hers. I definitely suggest checking it out because our palettes are very different. So I don't think we have... yeah, none of ours are the same, so definitely go over and check out her video after you watch this one. I'm also going to link below the video of my fantasy declutter if I had to declutter half of my eyeshadow palettes, so I was able to keep quite a few more than 5 in that video, but in today we're just going to be talking about the 5 that I would keep. I'm not going to talk about these in any particular order in the sense of like my favorite to least favorite anything, but I'm going to tell you the 5 in the order that I grabbed them out of my drawer, like genuinely, when I was going through and thinking of the 5 that I would keep. So the first one is probably, I don't know which one's my favorite in my collection right now, but the first one is the one where if something happened to this palette or if I used it up, I would repurchase it, but it is the Huda Mercury Retrograde palette. This is such a special palette to my collection because I can just make so many different looks with this. I do have this on the eyes with another one that I'll talk about in a minute, but I just love this palette. You can probably tell I have quite a few pans in this palette. I think I've got 4 pans. Yeah, I've hit pan in 4 shades in this palette and I just love it. So the textures in this palette are really just special to my collection. There's a lot of different options. So you have some that are more like chunky glittery shades, kind of like this blue shade called Nebula, but you also have some more like almost creamy or like liquidy kind of shadows like Cosmic and Galaxy, where they're almost more of that Super Shock texture, but they're a little bit more dry than that. They just have that kind of wet look to them. Typically when I use this palette, my looks end up sort of pink in some way or another, whether it's just in the crease or something, but there are some more like orangey shades that you can use as well, and the look won't be quite as pink. I love all of the different colors and textures and formulas in this palette. I feel like there's a lot of versatility. I don't usually use these teal shades, but it's nice to have them. Every now and then I dip into them to kind of switch up the look, but overall this is just one that I would for sure keep if I could only keep 5. Next up is my most favorite colorful palette in my collection. Yes, the Huda is colorful, but this one is like straight color. So this is the Give Me Glow Pastel Dreams palette. If you've been around my channel or my Instagram page for any length of time, then you know that I love this palette, but this is just my perfect pastel palette. I love it so much. I just don't want it to not be in my collection. And as for all of these palettes, if something were to happen to them, I would repurchase them because they're all very unique to my collection. Yes, this would be the second one. This is the second one that I thought of. Honestly, I think I might have thought of this one first, but it wouldn't be like, if I could only keep one, it would be this one. It was just like, that would for sure be my colorful palette. It's like my comfort zone of pastel shades. But overall, this was like the first one. I don't even know if that makes sense, but these were the first 2 that I thought of like for sure would be in my collection. Next up is this Cool Tone Neutral palette. This is the Natasha Glam palette, and I love cool tones. I love pastel shades. I like that more like muted kind of color because sometimes I feel like a more deep or vibrant color just looks really overwhelming on my fair skin, and it just isn't like my confidence area. So this is more of my favorite comfort zone kind of shade collection here. So this would definitely be one that I would have to keep. This is like a perfect everyday palette because while I do like pink most of the time, sometimes I just don't want to wear a pink shade, and this has everything in it. It has a couple light pink shades here, but they just pair so well when I want a more neutral shade in the crease or something, and this is just a really standout palette again in my collection. To contrast the cool tone palette, I had to pick a more warm tone palette because while I don't want that every day, so there's only going to be one palette in this whole video that kind of could cover that area really, you know, I do want warm tones every now and then. So this is the Nomad Cosmetics America's Parks palette, and this is a more like warm toned kind of like fall but rainbow kind of like, I don't know, it just it has those warm tones and it has a lot of the options that I would want, especially with these like bronzy kind of shades, but also just all of the shades in general are really pretty. And this is just very different in my collection. It's the only palette that I have like this and I love it because of that. It also is very nostalgic to me. I think I've mentioned this on my channel before, but I have been on 2 cross-country trips and we have visited a lot of America's parks during those trips, and those are just some of my favorite memories. And yeah, this is just a very nostalgic palette to me and I love it. I love the packaging, I love the formula, I definitely love the color story, which is the main reason why I picked it for this specific video, but I just love this palette, and if I can only keep 5, this would be one of them for sure. And yeah, as I've been really into this. I've been using this a lot more lately with like some yellow looks and some more gold looks, which typically is not my thing, but I think with it being the fall, I was just really into it, even though now it's almost December. So, but that palette would definitely be one in the 5. And then those 4 were like the obvious 4. And then I had to look at the rest of my collection and think which would be the 5th palette. And I almost didn't pick this one, and I'll explain why, but I ultimately did pick it because it's just my favorite. And this is the Huda Nude Light. This is the other palette that I have on my eyes today, and I love it. But the reason I almost didn't put it in this video is because it is slightly repetitive with the Huda palette that I already talked about, the Mercury Retrograde one. They're definitely different, but like I said, most of my looks end up being very pink with this palette anyways, so this one kind of feels like an extension of the Mercury Retrograde palette. So they pair really, really well together in my opinion, but I almost didn't pick it because of that. I actually almost picked the Huda Nude palette because there also are a lot of similarities between the 2 of those, like that one and this one, but this is just my favorite. It has, again, 4 pans in it. I just love this palette. My grandma bought it for me as just I think just a nice like pick-me-up. It wasn't for anything in particular. It was just really sweet and I really love it. I almost kind of get sad when I hit pan in these shades because I don't want to use it up, but this is a palette that when I do use it up, which honestly I feel like this is a palette that I could completely pan. The only shade I don't love is actually the one I have on my lid today, and it is this like lavender purple kind of shade. I just tend to go for the more like pink sort of shades over that one, but when I retire this palette or use it up, it will be going in my makeup like memory box. So speaking of the makeup memory box, I'm actually going to be filming what's in that video this weekend, so that video will be coming soon, so be sure to be subscribed if you want to see that. But this is definitely going to have a for sure spot in that box. I want to know down below if any of these surprised you. Like, did you think that I would say these, or did any of them come as a shock? And if they did, which ones did you think that I would mention? I'm curious. I feel like you all knew the Give Me Glow one was coming, but yeah, these are the 5 palettes that I would keep if I could only keep 5. And yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing the palettes that I would keep if I could only have 5 eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I just like doing these kinds of things and like looking into my collection and thinking like which ones are unique and special in my collection, and I really feel like the 5 of these are. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!